I generally don't work with people I don't know, like, or trust. I've never built a business that way. And and I teach people how to effectively stay in front of their sphere in order to only do business with people they know, like, and trust because they have high closing probabilities.
Welcome to the Dream Home Podcast, the show where real estate meets real talk. Hosted by John Nagle, a seasoned expert with over $7 billion in real estate financing experience. This podcast features top realtors, builders, and financial pros. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you make smarter moves. Here's your host, John Nagle.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dream Home Podcast, where we explore the communities, people, and programs that help turn your dream of home ownership and real estate success into reality. I'm your host, John Nagle of CMG Home Loans, and today's guest is someone you want to grab a notepad for, Shaune Corbett, one of the most influential real estate professionals in North Texas and a true powerhouse in the industry. Shaune, we appreciate you taking time to join us. How are you doing today?
Above average. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm very excited about this podcast to learn a little bit more about your various programs. So Shaune is ranked in the top 0.5% of all real estate agents nationwide, with over $300 million in local real estate sales and more than 500 transactions closed. In 2024, he ranked number 43 in transactions out of over 85,000 agents at eXp Realty. And in May 2025, he is featured on the front cover of North Fort Worth Real Producers magazine. He is the host of the #1 podcast for real estate agents in DFW, Real Estate Success DFW, and is the founder of the fast-growing Real Estate Success DFW Facebook group, where he helps agents grow without spending a dime on leads. What's even more impressive, 95% of his closings come from his sphere of influence, and he receives a new referral every business day of the week, proof that relationships, systems, and strategy still matter. Whether you're a new agent or top seasoned producer, Shaune is the coach, mentor, and community builder you need in your corner. Shaune, welcome to the Dream Home Podcast.
And I appreciate it, John. It's Shaune, just like you.
Did I say Shaune? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's spelled funny. It's S-H-A-U-N-E.
Shaune. Yes, my apologies here.
No, just don't want you, the rest of the show, I want you to make sure you got it so that way.
Yes, Shaune. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
So let's kick things off with the foundation of your success. Would you say your superpowers in real estate, what makes you different than any other agent trying to grow in DFW?
There are a number of things. We all come from different, purposes and where we go and where we build our business. I never worked for a broker prior to going out and running my own brokerage. I didn't learn bad habits. I didn't learn, specific training programs. Sometimes you might say it's good. Sometimes you might say it's bad. For me, I always thought about what would be the best thing and experience for clients. What's the most important elements that I need to make sure I take care of? And what do I want to relay to agents to do the same thing and be duplicatable? So that's always been a foundational, opportunity for me in growing my business and helping agents grow their business, is that I didn't have anyone teaching. So I had to come up with everything on my own, including how to show houses, how to write contracts, how to do listings, how to sell houses. And, now it's 20 plus years down the road. I'm sure I've touched thousands of agents at this point on coaching, training, and advising. And, with all the transactions, I've had plenty of experience with that as well. So I am a broker, but I've actually done the work. Most real estate brokerages and brokers can't answer real estate questions because they actually haven't done the work and know how to sell real estate specifically. They're only concerned about legal and liability, not actually solving real estate problems. I think that's a cornerstone for having effective transactions and everybody winning.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And you've sold over 300 million in real estate and done over 500 plus deals. What's the one thing that's contributed most to that kind of consistency?
For me, is relationships, right? I mean, I connect with people and they refer me to their people. Right now, if I do the math over any given year, you mentioned earlier 95%, that's pretty mathematically accurate as far as my sphere of influence. I generally don't work with people I don't know, like, or trust. I I've never built a business that way. And and I teach people how to effectively stay in front of their sphere in order to only do business with people they know, like, and trust because they have high closing probabilities. They don't spend a lot of time trying to convince and sell. We're going to be focused on tell me about what you want to do and let me help you solve that. And that's more engaging and more helpful and more beneficial. And it's just, I like to work with people I like, that's always makes a difference. Who wants to work with people that, you're dragging through everything and they're not listening?
I think that's a great policy for sure. Working with people that you like and enjoy working with. So you're not just a top producer, you're a leader and a coach. How are you helping agents today, especially those struggling to get momentum?
I've been blessed by doing this a long time and being able to make a living selling real estate. Very few are able to achieve even that basic element, right? Because the turnover rate is really high. Most agents don't make it past 2 or 3 years. We've seen a lot of the statistics. For me, I've been able to kind of stand the test of time. I was there selling houses when 2008, 2009, and that crisis where nothing would sell because of the foreclosure crisis. And then, of course, we went through COVID and then everything had, 15, 20 offers. That was just, 4 years ago. I've seen some absolutely extremes, and I'm sure those extremes are going to happen faster and more frequent as we, as technology, exposes opportunities and things like that, the next, 5, 10 years. My give back is that I've done so many transactions. I now have the ability to turn around and share with agents how to effectively build their business. I set up a group on Facebook. I call it Real Estate Success DFW. Figure out which way it is up there.
Yeah.
In my top corner there. That group is it's just a brand that I came up with. I wanted to target local agents here in Dallas Fort Worth. I want to help them grow their business. And I give classes and I give community events and community opportunities for us to connect in person and then really give them opportunities to help grow their business. I did a meeting yesterday here in my office in Grapevine. I brought in a guest speaker. She taught on social media and she taught from the heart how to really affect your group and your target audience, doing it your way. And she showed her experience of things that she did and how she was able to build such an enormous success. So I brought her in yesterday. I did headshots a month ago. We charged $20 to each agent and they got new, fresh, brand new professional headshots. I just did that a month ago because I've got, with my closing rate and how many things that I've done, I've got a number of sponsors that will throw me money to invest in these type of events. That really helps me engage and really help more agents faster. Is that I have a lot of sponsors that will cover my events, cover lunches, cover breakfast, pay for a big chunk of the cost of doing this. And those are things that I bring back to the agents and help them. So I'm growing Real Estate Success DFW on Facebook. It's a free group. You're an agent, you're local, please join. You're welcome to join. I'm here to give back. And it all started from my podcast, which is Real Estate Success DFW. And I interview agents and I let them tell their success story. Specifically agents that have, quite a bit of experience and that have strong social media presence. So that way I can continue my outreach because I only get to do one interview a week that I post. So I try to make sure I target really good agents.
Well, tell me about an agent who joined your community and had a major breakthrough.
So it'd be easier to kind of stretch this because I literally started the community a month ago. So it's a little hard to kind of give some type of, advice in that. I've done my podcast for about 6 months. But I do have about 4 or 5 agents that I've taken from absolute zero that now run successful brokerages. I'll give you one example. Kim Taylor, she calls it K-Trek, which is Kim Taylor Real Estate Group. She runs a brokerage, used to be in Justin Roanoke area, but she's moved a little farther north to Dish. And she's had a number of agents go through her brokerage and have success. One of them was on the cover of Real Producer. As a matter of fact, her name is Renee. That's one example of someone that I started with. She literally did one transaction before she came and joined my brokerage. And since then, she's built a career, selling real estate. She's She's a really good agent, and she's really effectively built her sphere of influence to a point. She gets calls just about every day from referrals. So that would be a good example of someone that's kind of walked through with me through this time.
Yeah, that's an incredible success story. That's very exciting, and I'm sure very rewarding as well to be a part of that and helping her to grow like that. So you've done some incredible things. What's one moment in your real estate journey that stands out as truly awesome?
Um, Lately I've just kind of had, home run after home run, right? I'll tell you this as agents, this is a really hard thing to wrap your head around. You either believe it or you don't. And I chose, 6 months ago to step out of me sitting in my office, selling my own houses and not reaching out and helping any other agents. Not intentionally, but that's the way most agents work. I'll just say it that way because I've always been in a give back mode. But I said, you know what? If I'm going to give to agents, I need to give to agents. So I started the podcast. I started the group. I created even a community on Skool, Skool, and I've got probably about 60 training videos there that I make available to agents as well. All of those things are things that I started doing. And because of that, I have people that are reaching out that have taken, notice. The past president of Metrotex, Ashley Gentry, actually, I just ended up doing a podcast interview in person with her about 2 weeks ago. I just did a podcast interview with the ninth largest broker owner in the US. He's got about 15,000 agents. Probably a little soon before I can tell you who it is, but I just interviewed him on Tuesday in person. Like, these things are coming out. I just got offered to be on the front cover of Real Producer May 2025. So that's coming up next month, where you and I are talking in April. So that will roll out in the next 3 weeks. And I'm actually going to be one of the headliners at one of the big events coming up at the end of May at Metrotex, which is, the main MLS that we all use. So I'm getting a number of, things that are just coming out. And I'm appreciative of all of them. I think, going from doing this from an ego standpoint to a real humble standpoint has made a big transition on the way I approach taking care of, agents and teaching and being a part of, their success. I mean, I can't claim success for any of them, but I certainly have been there doing some watering, and helping and watching the growth. So it's been really exciting to be a part of that.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very fast moving business, and your perspective is definitely interesting in the way that most real estate professionals operate, and you change it up quite a bit. So I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit here. There's a lot of buzz right now on AI and real estate. What's your take on that, on how it's impacting the industry?
You can try to live the next 10, 15 years in real estate without it. You're going to die. I mean, there's really not any way to get around AI. It's not going to eliminate the person-to-person aspect of real estate. There's still a lot of engaging opportunities for working with buyers and sellers, and certainly with other agents. AI does create some shortcuts and some creative transaction time saving, scalability opportunities. I've taken advantage of a number of them myself. I've even used AI to create some really clever marketing type of opportunities, because I do understand technology and it makes sense to me. I've been able to leverage a lot of that in the things that I do. But the real answer is probably, I would say, in the next 5 years, there's going to be a massive change in the way that we approach real estate through some of the nuances and things that we don't have to be a part of, that can be taken care of and handled for us. That can be quality control. It can be the transactional elements. But it's still not going to be able to show houses for us, and it's still not going to be able to, engage the individual buyer in making emotional decisions. It will probably weigh heavier on the seller side than the buyer side, because a lot of seller side has turn piece elements to it. But on the buy side, AI can't explain to you what the feeling of that environment is, or where the real exciting things are, or why does this house have a certain feel or experience that house doesn't have. It can't explain that or eliminate that aspect in the transactions. So AI is going to make an enormous difference in a lot of things. And it might even put pressure on the value of what agents bring to, the table. But there's still elements of the agent that we're not going to be able to replace, I think, in the next 4 to 5 years. Now, 10 years, you might be buying from a robot. And I know that doesn't sound like that far away, but honestly, there's a lot of things moving so fast that it would be hard to say that AI doesn't replace a whole lot of the things that we do physically today.
Yeah, I agree. I think you've answered my question about whether AI will ever replace the agent. And the short-term answer is that's not a reality, but who knows what's going to change in the future.
No doubt. I mean, I would say 10 years, no one can predict that.
Mhm.
I know, listening to Elon or some of the other people that have really looked at the future and where AI is going. I mean, they're talking 5 years, AI will replace our intellect altogether. And what does that look like? Well, it still can't stand alone, but it can correct. Okay, so take like cars driving themselves. There's a whole lot of inputs and outputs that happen at the same time, and it's making decisions. When you have it making decisions, it's actually making improvements, and making improvements is that unpredictable result. What do we think, and where will it land? Does it have a conscious? No, but can it, logically arrive to certain conclusions and make decisions based on that? Yes. Is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing? So it's a whole, mess of things that are going to happen, and we are going to see the results of those things. AI is definitely some scary space, but unfortunately, that's the space we're in. And if we don't embrace it, then it's going to be one more thing that is going to hold you back. We can't all show up to an office every day, and pay 20% of our commission to a brick and mortar and have a sign out front thinking they're going to sell real estate for us. That was 15 years ago. Now, most of us have made the move to cloud-based for a reason, because we only want to pay for what we use. And that's going to be an additional pressure on the brokerages in the future, is that we only pay for what we use, and there's no need for, advertisement and admin and staff and buildings and franchise fees and all these other things. That's not sustainable. So AI is going to impact everybody, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, that's actually a super good point. The cloud-based is just much more efficient from a cost standpoint than buying your own servers, having your big brick and mortar facilities and, 5,000 people in a building. So let's boil this down. What's the number one factor whether an agent succeeds or struggles?
There's certainly a lot of factors, but I would think, if nothing else, I've trained a lot of agents, and 80% of them are just not going to get past that first year and really make a difference. You got to be an entrepreneur. I think fundamentally, and I never understood this. It's one of those things that not being in a brokerage didn't allow me to really grasp this concept. But I always assumed anyone that wanted to be a real estate agent was naturally going to be a 1099 independent contractor and run on their own and be an entrepreneur, but they're not. I find the vast majority of them call me and say, "Hey, what do I do?" You're not an employee. I'm not managing you. Pick up the phone. I'm self-driven, right? And I realize a lot of agents don't have that self-drive to set their schedule, make their phone calls, do the same thing every day. And you can't force that on people. Either they got that or they don't. So I would really like to see independent contractor entrepreneurship type people really grasp hold, because either you're going to be an employee or a team member, and that's okay, but you're going to cap your potential, or you're going to say, I want to build a brand, I want to make a difference, I want to reach these people, and really take hold of that and move it forward. So I really think that entrepreneurship element really helps show your ceiling goes up a lot. If you just want to be an employee, you can join Redfin or one of those platforms and be a car salesman. I mean, that's what they are. They're given the opportunities. They're told what to do. They only make 20%, and they can live on that. That doesn't inspire me. And I think most agents, I would assume, would want to have control, build their brand, build what their future looks like. Surprisingly, a lot of them don't. But that would be the big thing for me, is that entrepreneurship spirit.
Okay. I think that's a great piece of advice especially for the new agents coming on board that aren't really looking at it from that perspective. So, Shaune, this has been incredible. Thank you for sharing so much value. If you're an agent listening today and you're tired of the noise and want real growth, I can't recommend Shaune's podcast and community enough. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to his Real Estate Success DFW podcast, Real Estate Success DFW Facebook group, his YouTube, which is at RESDFW, that's RESDFW, and Instagram at Shaune, SHAUNE, Real Estate Solutions. So, and if you're a buyer, seller, agent looking to explore mortgage solution or collaboration opportunities, I'd love to help. Head over to Dream Home Podcast or schedule a call with me anytime. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell on YouTube, and share this episode with someone looking to level up. Thank you for tuning into the Dream Home Podcast. See you next time. Thanks again, Shaune. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Dream Home Podcast, hosted by John Nagle. Ready to take the next step toward your dream home? Visit www.dreamhomepodcast.com for resources, tips, and expert advice. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and join us next time for more real estate insights and mortgage tips. Until then, happy home hunting.